There's a moment, usually late at night, when you finish something you worked toward for years, and instead of relief, you feel nothing. Not sadness, not joy, just a strange, flat silence where the meaning was supposed to be. You did the thing. The house got bought, the promotion came, the relationship worked out, and somewhere underneath it, a quiet voice asks, "Is this it?" You don't say it out loud. You go back to scrolling, back to planning the next goal, because stopping to sit with that question feels dangerous. What if there isn't an answer? What if there was never supposed to be one? In 1942, in Nazi-occupied Paris, a young writer named Albert Camus published an essay that should have been depressing. It opened with a single sentence that still unsettles people today. There is only one truly serious philosophical problem, and that is suicide. Not because Camus wanted anyone to die, because he wanted to ask, honestly, whether life without inherent meaning was worth living at all. He looked at the universe and found it silent. No cosmic plan, no built-in purpose waiting to be discovered. Just matter, time, and a mind that kept demanding answers the world refused to give. That silence has a name. Camus called it the absurd. Not absurd like a joke, absurd like a mismatch. Your mind is built to search for meaning the way lungs are built to search for air. But the universe doesn't owe you an answer. So you're left in this gap, this permanent tension between a question that won't stop being asked and a world that won't stop refusing to answer it. Here's where it gets uncomfortable. Most people assume the goal is to close that gap. Find the meaning. Discover your purpose. Fill the silence with something solid enough to stand on. Camus said the opposite. He said the moment you successfully convince yourself the universe has a plan for you, you've stopped being honest. You've traded truth for comfort. And comfort built on a lie always cracks eventually. Usually at the worst possible moment. Usually when you need it most. So what do you do with a universe that won't answer you back? You already know this feeling in smaller doses. The Sunday evening emptiness before a week you don't want to face. The applause fading after an achievement that was supposed to fix something inside you. The 2 a.m. thought that maybe none of it adds up to anything. Most people respond to this feeling in one of two ways, and Camus rejected both. The first response is what he called philosophical suicide. Not literal death, but a kind of surrender. You throw yourself into a belief system, religious, ideological, doesn't matter which, not because you've reasoned your way to it, but because you can't tolerate the uncertainty anymore. You need the universe to mean something so badly that you'll accept an answer you haven't actually earned. Camus didn't condemn faith itself. He condemned using it as an escape hatch from an honest confrontation with reality. The second response is literal despair. You look at the silence, decide it means nothing matters, and stop trying. If nothing has inherent value, why build anything? Why care about anything? Why get out of bed? This is nihilism's dead end, and Camus considered it just as dishonest as blind faith, because it also refuses to actually look at the problem. It just gives up, instead of leaning in. There was a third option. And to explain it, Camus reached back to a Greek myth almost everyone already knew, but nobody had really looked at closely. Sisyphus was a king, punished by the gods for cheating death not once but twice. His punishment was engineered to be the worst thing the gods could imagine, worse than fire, worse than physical torment. They gave him a boulder and a mountain. He pushes the boulder to the summit. Just before it reaches the top, it rolls back down. He walks back down after it. He starts again. Forever. No endpoint. No completion. No moment where the work is finally done, and he gets to rest. The gods weren't punishing Sisyphus with pain. They were punishing him with futility. They understood something particular about human psychology, that meaningless, repetitive labor without hope of an ending is a uniquely effective form of torture. And if you've ever sat in a job that felt like nothing you did mattered, or a routine that repeated itself with no destination in sight, you already know exactly what that punishment feels like from the inside. Camus zoomed in on one detail almost everyone skips past. The walk back down the mountain. That's the part where Sisyphus isn't pushing anything. He's just walking, fully conscious, toward a boulder he knows is waiting for him again. Camus called this moment the hour of consciousness, and he said it's the most important part of the entire myth. Because in that walk, Sisyphus is completely aware of his fate. No illusions, no hope that this time will be different. Just clear-eyed recognition of exactly what his existence is. And here's the turn almost nobody sees coming. Camus didn't say Sisyphus should be pitied. He wrote, in the essay's final line, that we must imagine Sisyphus happy. Not happy because the boulder stops. It doesn't. Not happy because he finds secret meaning hidden in the task. There isn't any. He's happy because somewhere in that walk down the mountain, in that clear-eyed moment of full awareness, Sisyphus stops needing the boulder to mean something in order to keep pushing it. He looks directly at the absurd, refuses both the comfortable lie and the collapse into despair, and chooses to keep walking back down anyway. That choice, made in full consciousness, with nothing external forcing it, is the closest thing to freedom Camus believed a human being could have. This is what Camus called revolt, not rebellion against a person or a system, revolt against the temptation to either fake an answer or give up entirely. You keep living, keep creating, keep loving people, keep showing up to the mountain, not because you found proof it matters in some cosmic ledger, but because you decided to meet it fully awake, instead of sedated by illusion or numbed by despair. Think about what changes if you stop needing your work, your relationships, your ordinary Tuesday, to justify themselves against some invisible cosmic scoreboard. The boulder doesn't need a permanent destination to be worth pushing today. The meal doesn't need to matter in 100 years to be worth savoring right now. You get to define what the walk down the mountain feels like, because nobody else is going to hand you that definition, and nothing was ever going to. I think about this most on the days that feel the most repetitive. The emails that mirror yesterday's emails. The same drive, the same conversations, the same effort spent on something that will need to be spent again tomorrow. For a long time I read that repetition as proof that something was wrong, that I hadn't found the real purpose yet, the one that would finally make the pushing feel justified. Camus would say I had the question backwards. The boulder was never going to justify itself. The only thing that was ever going to change was whether I walked back down toward it, asleep or awake. That's the practice, if you can call it that. Not forcing false meaning onto a life that doesn't hand it out for free. Not collapsing, because it doesn't. Just walking down the mountain with your eyes open, choosing the next push because you chose it. Not because the universe promised you it would add up to something in the end. Somewhere today, you're going to face your own version of that walk back down the mountain. A task that will need doing again tomorrow. A conversation you'll have to have more than once. A life that keeps asking you to show up without ever confirming it was worth it. Camus never promised the boulder would stop. He only asked you to notice that the walk down is still yours to meet however you choose.